And House Democrats release a report detailing their case for impeachment as President Trump continues to take shots at Congressman Adam Schiff. In an interview on Monday night, Schiff said after that report was made public, a vote would be held to formally send their findings to the Judiciary Committee. He said the House will continue to subpoena witnesses while the committee reviews the impeachment inquiry. President Trump sounded off on the Democrat efforts while speaking to reporters at the NATO summit in London today.
I think Adam Schiff is a deranged human being. I think he grew up with a complex for lots of reasons that are obvious. I think he's a very sick man, and he lies. Adam Schiff made up my conversation with the president of Ukraine.
The president said he would love to have members of his administration testify only when the investigation is turned over to the Senate, noting the unfair procedures which have been led by House Democrats. He also tackled trade issues and defense spending while attending bilateral NATO meetings in London. One America's Emerald Robinson has more.
Here at the NATO summit in the UK, you wouldn't really know that President Trump was facing impeachment proceedings back home. Outside of questions from reporters, the president impeached Trump forum during a wide-ranging press availability where the president made news on a number of topics and surprised many with his praise for an international institution he used to heavily criticize. In fact, in a role reversal with his French counterpart, the president having great compliments for NATO.
And NATO is really changing right now, so it's a different NATO. It's covering a lot more territory. It's covering hot spots. It's covering a lot of things that were never even contemplated or thought of even 5 years ago. If you go back 5 years, they wouldn't even be thinking about the things that we're doing now.
Now, the Trump administration has put a lot of focus on international institutions and multilateral agreements, leaving some and threatening to leave others. In fact, prompting an emergency meeting early in his presidency from NATO member states after threatening to exit the alliance. But the president putting those fears to rest on the 70th anniversary. Now, a lot of people are billing the president's about-face in regards to NATO as a retort to the French president Emmanuel Macron for saying that NATO suffers from brain death. But a State Department official telling me that's just not the case, that the president is pleased that NATO has shifted its focus and is adapting to current issues, in addition to more member nations meeting their commitments. In fact, President Trump and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg both spoke to this new flexibility.
I've become a bigger fan of NATO because they've been so flexible.
This alliance have proven once again to be able to adapt to change, responding to a changing world. So that's the reason why we are a success.
And that focus has largely shifted to the U.S. priority on combating Chinese aggression and influence, specifically as it relates to tech and cyberspace. But the president also making news on the China trade front, saying a deal could even wait until after the 2020 election cycle. Now, a source close to the Chinese trade team has told One American News that China is significantly feeling the hurt from tariffs now, and we're almost ready to acquiesce to U.S. demands until the president signed Hong Kong legislation. Now, the president's hard stance on trade is among the big topics here at NATO, but the president saying during that bilateral meeting with the NATO Secretary General that whether it's getting member nations to meet their commitments in defense spending or trade reciprocity, he's always going to look out for the U.S. best interests. In London, Emerald Robinson, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.